before today, or before I started talking about it, who had heard that term Christian nationalism before?
Just recently.
Mostly.
I've been hearing it a
A
lot.
lot.
A lot lately, right?
Yeah, since Kurt was killed, yeah.
But not so much before that?
Not
Well,
only.
actually, I heard it.
Oh, not too much.
Yeah.
So, I heard it 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
When
Where did you
all
hear
this real political, well, actually in 2016 it started, when Trump got in.
Okay.
Because he wanted to have a new church than the one he was attending.
Oh,
He attends.
does he?
I heard it way back with the Christian Coalition with Jerry Falwell, and
Yeah,
they
Did they use those words?
it was trying
they
to,
they would skate around it, but the political,
Evangelical movement?
yeah, that's moral majority.
Yeah, right.
That's when Liberty University became really strong.
Yeah.
They were using it now that they wouldn't use that term themselves, but anytime people were talking about them, and they were describing them, they would use the word nationalism on that.
So, the moral right, the
Moral majority.
moral majority,
I mean, it really started there.
when President Trump's first term,
yeah,
more recently, other people have heard it.
Right.
Bridget, you're saying you've heard
I
the
heard
evangelical,
movement. Right,
um,
right,
the fundamentalist
Right.
movement.
right.
So, yeah,
We have to be careful too that there was also TBN, which is the Trinity Broadcasting Network. And they incorporated the Christian Broadcasting Network, which was those two. And they planted tremendous amount of seeds in people that would just be watching on cable this. And I really think that had a very strong effect.
What was that? Was there something? 700 Club?
the 700 Club,
Yeah,
that was
remember that?
that was a,
Was that something like that too?
No, that was Pat Robertson.
Yeah,
And,
right.
Yeah, he had another university. Again, these universities were starting to
In
really train.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one thing we have to make sure before we get into this too far is to be aware that Christian nationalism can come into play within both major parties. Christian nationalism isn't just something that conservative political folks can fall into. If you actually go too far to the left, to the progressive side of things, you can very easily also end up in that same, it's just, it would look different, right? Still, Christianity should be the governing force, but the loving, caring, kind form of Christianity. So we have to be careful that not to paint all conservatives as Christian nationalists. Now, the current Christian nationalist movement does seem to be more tempting to those that hold more conservative political points of view.
So in other words, it's involving politics in the Christian.
So Christian nationalism is the merging of your identity as a American, since we're talking about American Christian nationalism, and your identity as a Christian.
But if somebody's a fundamentalist Christian who believes in a literal interpretation of the Bible, doesn't necessarily make them a Christian nationalist. Right?
Correct. You can be a fundamentalist and not necessarily be a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
You can be a ultra-conservative Christian and not necessarily be a Christian nationalist. Sometimes when we talk about Christian nationalism, it's real easy to paint all those Christians as Christian nationalists. So we do have to be careful. Or you wanted to?
Yeah, I just was saying too that I think in Christian nationalism they want allegiance. That's the biggest tie bond. If you're talking about the left version of that. They don't really press allegiance to it. They just throw out the idea. And so you're a Christian nationalist, you say you have to adhere to these points
Yes.
only.
Yes.
And there's no other interpretation or anything outside of that.
So, I want to give us a little bit of history. The Christians Against Christian Nationalist movement started in 2019. That's when this campaign officially became a thing. If I remember right, I actually signed, so on that website there is a pledge that you can sign, and I signed it as I think right before I graduated from seminary in 2019. So you started hearing some increased discussions about Christian nationalism around that time, around the first President Trump presidency. But Christian nationalism goes way, 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 way further back in our history. So in 1630,
A few years ago.
I wasn't around then.
It's way back
Long
already.
before my time.
John W.I.N. Winthrop, one of the founders of Massachusetts Bay, wrote a lay sermon. We don't know if the sermon was ever actually preached in a congregational setting, but it did spread. And in this sermon, he brought up this idea that Christianity, or that America has a special chosenness from God. That God selected America to be the new Israel, to be the shining beacon on the hill, to be all these things.
We sure are, aren't we?
Well,
No.
Think about our civics lessons, right? When
He
we
wrote this in 1630.
in 1630,
We didn't become American until
1770.
1700.
right? But we would have had the American colonies, right?
Yeah, we're colonies.
So this, and in that America he's mentioned is that land, right? He's talking land. But this is where many scholars will point to say the root of American Christian nationalism.
God gave us this country.
God preordained
Wow.
that we would be on this land. And that it is this land that will become the shining mecca of religious freedom, of, new, civilization. We were fleeing from persecution. That's what we're taught, right?
Right.
Fleeing from religious persecution. We won't go into that part, because we know historically that's not entirely true. But it's this John Winthrop and this sermon that starts this idea that the Americas, the land of America, has been chosen by God for God to establish a new Israel, a new chosen nation.
Was he an Anabaptist or something? Or?
He was, hang on, I have a note here. He was a Puritan. He was a Puritan. So this is a lot of that imagery and these words like promised land, right? Who promised it? God. God promised this to us. He also hoped to purify the Christian tradition from what he perceived as its denigration and corruption. Inspired by the story of the biblical Israelites who would cross the Red Sea to enter into the Promised Land, he depicted the Puritans as a chosen people in covenant relationship with God. Just like the Israelites. And even goes as far as, the Israelites went through the Red Sea.
Right.
What did the American Puritans have to cross?
The ocean.
So there were all these parallels
Oh,
that he drew out saying, this is God, preordained by God. He would go on to say, in this talk, borrowing an image from the Gospel of Matthew, he claimed that New England would be a city on a hill. For we must consider that we shall be a city on a hill, he wrote. The eyes of all people are upon us. So the entire world, much like the prophets, right? The prophets talk about Israel being where freedom and liberation and God's grace and all that flows from. Well, now that's shifted to those on this new land. This sounds somewhat like a prophet. It sounds like the story. I mean, think about when you were in elementary school, middle school, and you're being taught civics, right? American history. How is that framed? Is it similar to what I just said?
Oh, you want
Yeah,
to read
we're
the
always-
flag and you're going, yeah.
Right, like America was, founded by these great people, and they were here standing up for what is right and good, and God, was really a focal point, and they were religious, good, upstanding individuals, and they think about how they talked about the Native Americans, the indigenous people. What were they?
Savages.
To be
Converted.
converted and conquered, right?
if they weren't conquered, they
We
would.
didn't get rid of that word conquer in Christianity until many.
Right, so, I mean, is it surprising to think about Christian nationalism, what we are dealing with today, going all the way back this far? Any questions about that? It's kind of big, right? It's hard to wrap our brains around. It's that think about it, right? Manifold destiny, the Monroe Doctrine.
And whose history was it? Was it for all people? Even in our history books, was it for all people?
How do we present our American history, right?
And
And then the world wars contributed to keeping that image of the wonderful land of America because, particularly the Second World War, it's America came to the rescue.
Oh, yeah,
And
we
so
want
then,
it completely.
And so they were totally elevated,
Yeah, think about that. Think about the imagery of America, of how we're presented. History, yeah. World War I, World War II. World War II didn't end until America got involved and was able to come in with our, riding our big, shiny, white stallion like the knight arriving to save the day. And we still talk about America often that way. Like, think
that's
about...
when we first came into world power.
That's,
Before that, United States was not.
we entered into the global stage,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And think about how we talked about even America post 9/11, right? There was this righteous indignation, righteous anger that we have to drive out the evils, right? Evil, good, promised, God ordained, God bless America. All these things have culminated, have come together to be almost a perfect storm for Christian nationalism to once again rise up, right? We know that nationalism, let's forget about the Christian part, nationalism, that's a sin as old as time, right? And let's also be clear, there is a difference between nationalism and being patriotic. Right? You can be patriotic without being a nationalist. Any questions about that, on that statement? Do we agree with that statement?
So the word national, that's actually a bad word.
Nationalism, being a nationalist is not good.
Got it, yeah, okay. I
Well,
can
with
be patriotic.
nationalism, they can't do anything wrong.
The nation cannot do anything. You have blind allegiance
Yeah, okay, got it,
when you're a nationalist.
okay.
That country, the ruling party, the ruler, whoever that may be, can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like they can go into Times Square and shoot someone and no one would. That's neither here nor there right now, right? So, patriotism, we can question, right? We can protest, we can talk about where we've misstepped. We can say we're not perfect yet. Now, I shared on my Facebook, my Pastor Greg page, I was reflecting on being at the MLK festivities this past Monday.
Yeah, you were on TV.
Oh, I was.
Yeah, you were walking around by the podium
stage?
thing there? Or stage, yeah.
You saw that on the news, right? I didn't see him. You saw that on the news?
It depends which news you watch.
That's true.
So,
But they showed pictures, little bit pictures.
we have to remember that, or I was there, and it had been years since I had those chills when you hear the national anthem, right? And I used to be that red, white, and blue, crank up the patriotic music on the 4th of July. I mean, I was that guy. I was USA, 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 and it's, well, really since about 2019, that feeling had left. I didn't get that same feeling. But when I was with the group at the MLK Festival, and they sang the national anthem, it was a reminder, it became a song of hope, that we can be there, that we can be the home of the brave, we can be the home of the free, we can be the liberty for all people, but we're not there, right?
There's a tipping point somewhere though, from being a Christian nationalist, from being a patriot and turning into a nationalist.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we'll get there, yes.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a fine line before, so BJC, and I'll print this off for our next meeting, has it's actually a spectrum. Christian nationalism is a spectrum where one could be in the middle and be patriotic. And one can move down the spectrum until they are an extreme nationalist. So it is a spectrum. You might see this questionnaire because they did this survey. You might see that, oh, wait a second, I might lean a little bit more towards a Christian nationalist than I thought I did. And that's okay. It's a matter of being aware of this, right? Because oftentimes, again, this is why I brought up how do we teach American history. A lot of these things that we say define a Christian nationalist are just a few steps beyond, what we're taught to be as patriots and as, country-loving folks. It's that point where it becomes they can do no wrong, right? That it is this way and only this way. So we're kind of getting to that point where we need to try to define what is Christian nationalism, and that's what we're going to be spending today on. I printed off a couple things. I printed off an article from the Charles Kettering Foundation. I couldn't play with the size, but
Don't worry about it, that wouldn't help me anyway.
on the second page,
Take it to my reader.
turn to the second page and there's a quote kind of almost all the way down at the bottom. The empirically supported definition of Christian nationalism used by experts across various fields of study. So Christian nationalism is not just something that theologians and church folk are studying. It's poli-science, political science folks. It's historians. It's psychologists and sociologists. This is a kind of across the board phenomenon that's being looked at. So Christian nationalism can be difficult, like she said in the video, to define. I liked this definition. Christian nationalism is an ideology that desires a close fusion of a particular expression of Christianity with American civic life. It demands our government at all levels vigorously defend this ideology as central to our national identity, public policy, and social belonging. There's a lot of words there, right? What do we think this says? Does it really help us explain what Christian nationalism is?
Would you
Well,
say
that's-
that most
that's
Christian
where-
nationalists want to
It's
be?
very vague.
It's vague.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that's where it gets iffy.
John, what were you?
Would you say that most Christian nationalists want the government to be a theocracy?
When we
Based on
get-
their beliefs?
When we get over here, yes, that is exactly the end goal for the real extreme side of Christian nationalism. I wasn't planning on talking about too much today, but for people like Mike Johnson, and he has said this, there is within the current Christian nationalist movement, there is the 7 Mountain Mandate.
Isn't that contained in 2025 too?
It does have, you can see it in Project 2025. And what the 7 Mountain Mandate does is it identifies the 7 mountains that society is built on. So things like economics, education, government, social, all these different realms. And the hope for the 7 Mountain Mandate is to have a specific type of Christian at the very top, in control of that mountain. Or a group of very specific Christians with very specific beliefs at the top of that mountain that will shape what comes down the mountain. And if they can control, and I think the 7 Mountain Mandate is something like, eventually they want all 7 mountains to be covered. But if they can get to, I think they say if they can get to 5 of the 7 peaks, they more or less are in control of society at that point, right? They can really dictate how society functions and what type of Christianity is taught, is encouraged, is enforced, not just in church settings, but in education, aka public schools, in even things like banking, in societal organizations, in government. So there's whole books about the 7 Mountain Mandates, both those that are like, this is what it is, this is our goal, and those that are like, this isn't good, this is what they're trying to do, how do we deal with it? But Mike Johnson has referenced this 7 Mountain theory in some of his speeches. So I do believe, and we know that there are current politicians that have sold t-shirts that say, proud Christian nationalist. Margaret Taylor Greene proudly took on that title and sold t-shirts saying, I am a Christian nationalist. The point is to have a certain type of Christianity controlling all aspects of society. We fast forward a little bit to, and this is where I was talking about it, right? We fast forward some to the late 1700s and early 1800s. What's going on in our historical aspect at this point?
American Revolution.
American Revolution.
Setting up the declarations and all the Constitution and our government.
The Bill of Rights, all that stuff. There's also
Slavery.
There's also the slavery question going on. There's, like was said, there's the government being set up.
I think taxation was part of that too.
There's taxation stuff. So
And Boston Tea Party, that type of thing.
Tea Party.
And the different states are being organized.
So this is right at that founding, right? And the slavery question, again, we already have that foundation of being a chosen landmass. A chosen, those people that were there were chosen and preordained to be there, is what many believed. Do we see that in our founding documents? In things like the Declaration of Independence?
Well, but they were fighting against the Church of England, which had a really predominance at that time, so that they were shifting away from the fact that the church was taxing, the church was doing this, so they kind of wanted to make sure that there wasn't this entity, a religious entity, taking over like it did so predominantly in England at the time.
Yeah, and they didn't want a king. We got rid of that person.
Maybe I opened that was too broad of a question. At the very beginning of the Declaration of Independence,
Oh, I'm sorry.
what does it say in the Jeffersonian Bible? Do we know that Thomas Jefferson has the Jeffersonian Bible?
He has one.
He took out the parts that reference slavery.
No. He focused, that was the slave Bible.
He took out a lot of parts of the Bible.
He takes the Gospels, blends them all together into one account of Jesus, minus the resurrection, minus a lot of the divine status of Jesus. He's a man, he taught moral lessons. He does include some of the miracles of Jesus, but not many. But the way I do have a copy in my office if everyone, it's about yay thick, and it's about yay tall.
For those that were.
It's New Testament.
Gospels.
Gospels.
He just takes the Gospels and tries to reconcile them into one story of Jesus, minus the resurrection, minus the ascension, minus these divine aspects of Jesus.
Did he include John?
It's all one story. He takes all four Gospels and consolidates it down into one story of Jesus.
So if it doesn't fit in the story, he didn't include it.
But yet, the founding fathers were Christian?
No.
I read where a lot of them were not.
Not as we think of God.
So, as a confessional church, how do we define Christians? You guys know this? Those that uphold and agree with the creeds, the three historic creeds.
Yeah, right.
And what do those three historic creeds all attest to?
God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And at the very end, what do they all, at least in passing, mention? The resurrection.
Oh, yeah.
The resurrection is a key part of being Christian,
Christian, yep,
right?
right.
So if Thomas Jefferson in his Bible removed,
They were, oh, yeah,
None of them were.
the best word to describe them, in my opinion,
yeah.
is a deist.
Oh.
Are you saying if they ever found bones they believed to be Jesus' bones, that would negate Christianity?
So modern day Christian nationalism, one of the things again about this article that I really like is it identifies 5 key elements that define the Christianity of Christian nationalism. So what is this part? What's that Christian part of Christian nationalism? So one of the things that the modern day Christian nationalist movement looks for is they have a desire for traditional social hierarchy.
Women have their place.
A desire for traditional hierarchy.
I know she's sitting over there out of my reach.
So I think it was Joyce. Women
Yeah.
have a specific role and position in society. Christian nationalism prefers a nation with certain people at the top, some in the middle, and then the rest at the bottom. Sounds kind of like a mountain. Some at the top, most of them at the bottom. These social hierarchies revolve around gender, sexuality, and family structure. The idea is that the United States will be strongest if men lead while women support. Another, see here, a commitment to strong ethno-racial boundaries around national identity and social belonging. Why do they have to use such big words and phrases, right? Christian nationalism poses a specific threat to democracy as it envisions a very specific preferred citizen. I'm not going to keep reading. You guys are already probably reading ahead.
Yeah.
What do we think as a group that very specific preferred citizen is?
White.
White. And what?
Natural born citizen.
Real American. They were born here in America, on the God-blessed special grounds of this holy land of America. This relies on the historic narrative of the United States that believes this was the group of people who created this country, and it is this group of people who should enjoy the easiest access to civil rights, social benefits, and political power. White civil rights. Am I missing? Am I not remembering right? Wasn't there a whole story recently about civil rights and its impact on the white man? Have you guys heard this?
Yeah, that the black people, when they had the civil rights, it impacted the whites who were persecuted.
Who said that?
The guy that's in office right now.
Our current administration has said, beginning with our president, that the passage of the civil rights movement made the white male the most persecuted person in America.
That's right. That's what he said, and we were all going, what? Where did that happen?
A very specific type of citizen, preferred citizen.
Majority anymore.
You know what that's called? The Great Replacement. The Great Replacement is a fear that who? White men
Will not be supreme.
will be replaced as the group, right? The abstract group that holds the majority of power. That eventually, you also hear things like, and I saw it just the other day. I'm a glutton for punishment sometimes. So I read comments on news stories that are posted on Facebook by our local, K-Gun and KOVA or
KOV.
and I read the comments sometimes. I should know better. But you'll see comments like, oh, the Democrats are only speaking up now because for each illegal immigrant that is sent out of this country, that's one of their votes that are gone.
Oh.
Oh. So this idea that immigration benefits the opposing party and the money that comes with it. What do we think about this? Again, this is all done with the clothing of what?
Replacement.
Christianity.
Yeah.
Chosen people. Right? Chosen people. Idealizes free market capitalism. So the current Christian nationalist movement, in response to fears surrounding socialism, with things like the New Deal, fears concerning communism, Christian leaders and wealthy capitalists promote free market capitalism, which emphasizes privatization, deregulation, reduced public spending as God's preferred economic system. So not only is our government preordained by God, but our economic system is God's preferred economic system. What do we feel about unfettered free market capitalism being God's preferred economic system? How do we feel about just hearing that? 1930s, 1940s. We see a shift in kind of modern American Christianity at large. And it shifts from the individual, kind of like what we were talking about with the minor prophets and Jesus focused on community, to being about the individual. About being the fundamental principle of Christianity was the salvation of the individual. So shifting away from this communal understanding of faith. If any, and this is what a historian wrote reflecting on the 1930s and 40s. If any political and economic system fit with the religious teachings of Jesus, it would have been rooted in a similarly individualistic ethos. Nothing better exemplified such values, they insisted, than the capitalist system of free enterprise. They maintained these beliefs were vital to maintaining a strong nation. Real patriots were economically productive and believed the myth of meritocracy. Through hard work, they could achieve their American dream, making each American personally responsible for their own economic situation, however obscured the policies that protected the fortunes of the already wealthy. Opportunities were limited for the working class and middle class, and especially for the racial and ethnic groups that experienced legalized discrimination. Do we hear some of the same type of talk
Yeah,
now? Meritocracy?
yeah.
You're personally responsible for everything related to your economic status? So the next kind of pillar is a preference for authoritarian social control. Christian nationalism views the world as constantly falling into chaos where the God-ordained hierarchies, boundary lines, and social systems mentioned above are under constant threat. Any nation that fails to abide by these ideals risks losing divine blessing. For this reason, strong rules and a strong ruler are necessary to bring order out of chaos. And because the stakes of a rightly ordered society are so high, nothing, not even democracy, can stand in the way. A strong rule of law and a strong leader.
The numbers.
So we'll get there. The next pillar.
Okay, good.
An embrace of populism, perceived victimhood,
Yeah,
and conspiratorial thinking.
yeah.
The populist impulse is the idea that this country was made for the common person and not the elites, who are constantly trying to steal away, and here's a very key term, their birthrights.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And we heard this even with folks like Jerry Falwell. And John Hagee has said this. And certainly Franklin Graham theologically has said this, that America is at risk of losing its divine protection, its divine status, because what's one of the big sins that they point to that America has accepted? The LGBTQ folk.
Oh, okay.
Because America allows for gay marriage and allows for these couples to be, and that undermines the divine ordering of hierarchy that God instated of male and female biological nuclear families, because we've accepted this other form that is sinful, and we have backslid as a nation. And everything that's happening to us is a result of this sin. So we need someone to come around, redirect us, reinforce all the right laws, reinforce all the right morals and ethics to establish America as the divine, God-given country, the light on the hill.
Then they don't want any of us coming along and saying, we don't believe that crap at all.
No, because for them, if we question this, guess what? We're not real Christians.
That's right.
We get what we deserve.
And we get what we deserve. Any pastor that challenges this is a wolf in sheep's clothing, is a false teacher, is a false prophet.
But then why do we have that confession on Sundays? We read it. And
We do.
stand up
Stay
there
tuned,
and
folks,
everybody
because
repeat.
Sunday sermon is going to be a good one.
So that's our introduction to Christian nationalism.
Oh, boy.
You have to go.
I don't think that, because if it's all individual, if we're all believing in Jesus individually, then that really doesn't
I
apply.
found a screw in it.
Really doesn't.
So
Chair falling apart or something?
The screw fell out.
I hate
That's
these
okay,
chairs.
okay.
Yeah, that's why, yeah.
That's
But
enough.
So I'm gonna write. We'll follow up on that one.
The screw fell loose on the chair, not you.
Did everyone hear? Did everyone hear Cheryl's question?
I don't know.
Can you say it one more time?
Well, if if we are all individuals and we believe that we're all saved and we're in the hand of Jesus and God, and we're all in this one frame, then that backsliding concept doesn't apply.
But it does. And why does it? Why will they not get rid of the backsliding?
Because they don't recognize individuals, basically.
Control. Because if you start questioning,
They're in control.
if you start questioning what they're doing, it's no longer a difference of opinion.
You better keep that.
It's that you have fallen into a sinful mindset. You have backslid away from the proper understanding of God and what God is doing here. And if you have backslid away from that, what can we now do?
We have to turn around and say, we're sorry, we have to follow the leader.
What can the group that's in power do to an individual that they have painted as backsliding and now not seeing and believing correctly?
Get rid of it.
They can ostracize.
Yeah, we pointed out.
They can point them out, they can vilify,
Vilify, that's the word.
and now their opinion, their statements, their whatever,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Oh, wait a second. People that were once in power and had influence, but had a difference of opinion,
Are gone.
are not just gone, but their character has been assassinated. We don't do that here. Not in
Yes,
America.
we
We wouldn't do that.
Because I guess they're not going to change my mind, because I was told that once you are saved and you accept Jesus, God puts you in his book, puts you in his hand, and nobody is going to get you out of it.
So eternal salvation like that is not at all what this theology is built on.
I don't
No,
recognize.
it's
They don't-
not.
they
Well,
don't
I don't
recognize-
see why they wouldn't be, because that's what gives you the divine blessing.
Yes, they don't see.
That's where the twist comes in.
Right, that's
That's how they twist
It's
it.
a twist,
that's
yes,
the
it is.
twist. That's the hook of it.
And so Rome was
That's why a
once
lot
a
of
great
people can't
country.
differentiate.
It was very proud and owned much
They can't
land. And
Believe
then
anything else.
And the barbarians took over.
Dictatorship.
Who are the barbarians of our nation, of the world now?
Who are the barbarians of our world now? Also, think of it. So think of it this way too. This group of people that follow in this. What's the Bible verse that you know that they know? John 3:16. They know John 3:16,
But not the 17.
But not, yeah.
but not the 17.
And they don't follow the Matthew to help the poor.
They know for God so loved the world that God sent God's one and only truly begotten Son, so that whomever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. They stop there and say you must believe, and not only believe, but believe correctly to be loved by God and have eternal life. They forget that 17, which is why I harp on them so much.
Right,
For the Son of Man did not come into the world to condemn the world, but to save it.
right.
For whomever believes in him.
So
Shall
now we
have
all have
eternal
to buy him that t-shirt, because he's got that t-shirt.
I do have the t-shirt, yeah, the 317 t-shirt, yeah.
You know, part of the problem too with when you do the backsliding, you feel so awful.
Oh,
And so you are looking to somebody to make you feel better, and that's the message, you know? And that's such a hook.
we all want to be
Yeah.
told we're good.
Yeah,
We all
right.
want to be told that we
Yeah.
have value and
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah.
We all want to have some level of affluence or influence or status. Like, that's a human
Yeah,
part of nature.
right.
Like, we all want to be told, hey, you're
It's part of the hierarchy of needs.
right. It's part of, and safety, right?
Right.
Safety is a key part of that hierarchy of needs. And if, again, going back to that authoritative government, if they're selling the message that there's chaos out there, but I'm going to come and restore order, their restoration of order they intend it to bring a sense of safety.
Yeah.
And safety is one of the basic needs.
They really don't like you telling them that they're creating the chaos, and then you're delusional and trying to get me to believe that you're gonna make me safe by this crap that you're doing. They don't like you saying that, that's why they cut me off a lot of things.
Because you're questioning the authority, the order.
But then I believe that if I screw up, and I come, like I did the prayers today, and ask for forgiveness, I ask God to forgive me in His Son's name, like I do all the time, then I'm forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need some guy in the office telling me that I gotta give him $1 billion in order to have that forgiveness. Stop me from doing it again, because I might do it again when I walk out the door.
You're a good Lutheran.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like the people that are gamblers.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who have that gambling thing, and so they want to toss the dice to Christianity and get a sure bet, and that's the problem is we have so many. We have the sheep and then we have the rams, and then a lot of times in our group here, I mean, we're all more not the sheep. We challenge, we talk, we're here in this group to understand and listen. And there's so many that don't. They just want to be the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whoever has the loudest voice.
And if they can just feel good on Sunday being here, that's all they need.
Right, and Joyce, you raised up a
That's
good point.
challenge, yeah.
Think about the sermons that are preached at those types of churches. And
I
very
wanna know
rarely,
what kind of Bible that guy that's the pastor of that church that's an ICE agent. I wanna know what Bible was he reading.
So
so
that's interesting too, though. I didn't support them going into the church.
Well, no, the gentleman that was the pastor is an ICE agent.
I know, but still, that was a church service.
But it was only a journalist that was there. He was there as a person sitting in the pew.
no, there
listening to
was a
the
bigger
pastor.
protest that came in.
Yeah.
There's the protest that came in, I just didn't support that.
No.
Because I do think there's a sanctity of any church, and
Right.
that
Right,
regardless if I don't agree with it.
I question, like, some of my colleagues were in full support of that. I'm like, you guys know, I'm outspoken, right? Like, you know where I stand on things.
We're not coming in regular clothes, we're coming in our jammies on Sunday because we're gonna be there till the next day.
I'm not going to send us to Pantano Christian to interrupt their worship service. Just because, what's that, treat others the way you would want to be treated? I wouldn't want a super conservative group
Right.
from like the bridge to come into our sanctuary during worship.
Right.
So,
real conservative, did you say?
the bridge?
Mhm.
Oh, Sarah.
I don't know anything about
Oh,
it.
they are
wanna know.
hyper conservative.
Really? Because that used to be the cool church.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
There,
When I
I'm
go
learning
by, I turn
something.
into stone.
We're right by Tinkerberry Lutheran.
But if you
Yeah.
think about the types of sermons that the Christian nationalist churches often will preach, if they're not preaching about, anti-woke or anti-LGBTQ, they are preaching a message of persecution, right? That the American family is under attack. That the American man and masculinity is under attack. And it's us that must defend it. We need to be warriors for Christ. We have to put on the full armor of God to combat the forces of evil. Right? So there's this real militarization as well as this kind of self-help idea. So it's, Anyway, we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Your brains are probably swimming because this is a lot to consider and process.
Yeah.
Next week, we will meet again. We will take the following week off,
Right,
because I will be in California for the interment of my father-in-law.
right.
First week of February.
First full week in February, we will be off.
But the church will be open for quilting on Monday.
Both Mondays.
Who would like to close? Not Ed.
And I will close.
Thank you.
Oh dear, 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 dear God. We are so grateful that we here have been, and are continually being challenged about what it really means to walk in your ways. Thank you for our pastor, obviously, who leads us in our journey. We also ask for your blessing on all of us as we go home. I'm particularly asking for a little prayer for my husband Paul as he is hurting. And may we all have a wonderful week and return for our annual meeting following Sunday service. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.